Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm just going to give everyone else a couple more minutes, a couple more seconds to join. Okay, looks like we have one. So we're just going to kick us off a while. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We're excited to have you here for a closer look at something that would make your life a whole lot easier, MP's HR advisory services. Now, I want to start with an important reminder. You're already part of the MP family. You know us as your payroll, time, or tech partner. Maybe we work with you in the recruiting space, but what you might not know is that we offer premium HR support that goes beyond the basics. And I get to introduce two of these people shortly. This isn't a one size fits all call center setup. This is a real partnership. Think of it like adding a certified HR pro to your team without adding headcount. We're here to help you stay compliant, scale smarter, and take the HR weight off your shoulders without giving up the control. So if HR is something you've been juggling or just surviving through duct tape fixes, whatever it might be, you're in the right place. Let's jump in and see how MP can help you and make what that can look like. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to introduce two of MP's HR service experts, two rock stars, Sharon and Melissa. Sharon is a SHRM certified and PHR certified HR professional with over 20 years of experience, and she's worked with everyone from nonprofits to global companies, and now serves as a senior HR partner here at MP, helping our clients stay compliant, plan strategically, and train their teams effectively. And Melissa brings over 2 decades of experience as well. And she has experience in the HR leadership space, especially in the nonprofit world. She's known for her passion in developing people and building workforce programs that drive real growth from the ground up. You're in good hands today if you haven't caught on yet. And if you would like to ask a question during the presentation, please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen. We will be sending out the recording and presentation slides this afternoon. So again, thank you everyone for joining us. And now I'm going to hand it over to Melissa.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie. And thank you, Sharon, for presenting with me today. I know we're super excited to be here and talk a little bit about what we do. I'm going to first start by saying I think we're on camera right now. We wanted to be able to say hi, put our faces to names. As we're going through the webinar, we probably will come off camera just to be able to help us focus on the slide deck and the information that we're talking about. But as Katie said, feel free to ask questions. We want to keep this very conversational and be able to make sure that you can learn today about the great work we do here at MPHR. So our agenda today is to talk about HR services, something Sharon and I are super passionate about. It is our daily life. Before we came to MP, we worked a lot in the HR space. So anytime you give two HR consultants the platform to talk about, all the great things we can help you with, we're going to certainly jump on that. But why we are excited, and I can personally say why I joined the MP HR team, is really the pillars of service that HR services is founded under fundamentally. And we're going to talk about that today. And our HR services model includes these 3 critical steps that can help you no matter where you are in stages of your business or the HR function. We're going to talk a little bit about the clients and who they are, not specifically, but the types of clients we like to serve who are a great fit. And we'll share some case studies and some fun stories in between to make sure that we're bringing to life the things that we do every day. So HR services, as I said, we follow a model of 3 critical pillars. We are your strategic partner, which is pillar 1, and I'll talk about that in just a few. Compliance and training and development. So let's talk about our first pillar. As a previous CHRO and over a couple decades of experience in HR, I can tell you firsthand what it's like to have a great partner in not only your payroll and your HCM system, but really in your HR services. And the first pillar that MP has as the foundation of our services is this strategic partnership. And I can say I feel this is probably one of the most important things that we can bring to your business, and to help support all your functions, including if you have in-house HR. And our first pillar represents the role of being your strategic partner. And it's our job to act as this additional resource for you, help you brainstorm, help you strategize, help you build infrastructure. Our whole goal is to make sure that we're optimizing the HR function, bringing value to your company in a way that we can show, we can stand behind through data, but also really most importantly, be here for you. So what does really that strategic partner look like? We offer that extra set of hands. We give you fresh perspectives. Navigating HR and the complexities and the issues and the ever-changing laws is really, really difficult. And for many of our clients, that is not the first thing they have time for all the time, right? There's multi-roles. You may be experienced in HR, you may not be, you may have dual roles at your company. So really spending time to have somebody else to bounce ideas off, or setting strategy, or talking through things isn't always a luxury. And we really get that. So we are your flexible strategic partner. HR matters involve, a lot of gray areas, and we really want to work with our clients individually from a very holistic and personal perspective as your sounding board, providing that safe space to discuss opportunities and strategies and confidential matters and thoughts and ideas as you're building that HR infrastructure or helping to grow the business. Go ahead. So we really are about collaborative solutions. So our titles are HR partner for a reason. We want to be your partner. We want to be the person that is there helping you strategically along the way. So we look for collaborative solutions. You need to refresh onboarding or orientation, or you may not have that. Compensation strategy is very, very important right now. We have lots of states adopting pay transparency acts. We have lots of benchmarking that we can do to help make sure that you're attracting and retaining the right staff and the right talent. But we want to collaborate on it. We want to work with our clients to come up with very tailored solutions that are meeting your needs. And it is not a one-size-fits-all solution, because the area of HR, not only compliance, but people, right? We are human beings, and human beings work for us. And no human being is the same, right? So we really want to give you that collaborative partnership where we can talk through the solutions, talk through some of the gap areas that you may not see for yourself, and help you build that stronger workforce, help you develop them. And we will review every life cycle of the employee in your business to be able to make sure that we're giving that perspective. And the other thing we really love to focus on is culture. So we start with HR assessments that talk nothing about HR. I want to know how your business runs. How does it operate? How are your people? Do you have core values? Is everybody consistent? Is there clarity on what it is that your culture actually is? And that's really what we're here for, as your strategic partner, and to work with you to make sure that your company's core values are either developed or that they are answering back to everything, and that all has a role in HR. So while we can be very tactical and help you write a termination letter, and all those things are really, really important, one of the most valuable parts of this service is to be that strategic partner for you, especially in times when I said that HR might not be the first thing you have time for. And I just want to add, as somebody who was a former embedded HR leader, I would have loved this service, right? It's often a very lonely place when you're any leader, but also when you're leading HR, right? There's a lot, and sometimes you just need that person and that partner that can offer different perspectives, help you look holistically at the situation. We're going to ask you a lot of questions to make sure we have the best interventions and solutions and advice for you. And that's really different than just handing off, templated letters, or making sure that, we're writing a term letter, helping you write that. We're here to help you develop your staff, coach them, build your business, and look at the people operation from a holistic view.
Thanks, Melissa, for introducing the strategic partner side of the HR services. Now I'm going to jump into the compliance piece. So I've been in this HR partner consultant role for many years. I came from a different company, servicing clients similar to what we have here at MP. In matters such as compliance and being a strategic partner. And I have to say that in my many years of experience in this role, the first thing that always comes to mind when speaking with potential clients or new clients, I should say, is making sure that they're in compliance, right? Because many of our businesses are focused on running their business, right? They don't think about the things that they need to stay on track when it comes to making sure that they're, paying the employees the right way, whether or not they are understanding what the new laws are coming out, how they're going to be impacted. And there are so many facets of these employment laws that sometimes employers don't know where to start. Because there could be federal level, there could be state level, and then unbeknownst to many of my clients that I've worked with in the past, there could be some local laws that they are absolutely unaware of, right? So one of the first things that we normally tackle is talking about the compliance piece, making sure that employees who are managing the in-house HR function are able to understand and feel comfortable helping administer and setting these things in motion, because these things change all the time. So an example I can talk about is last year when the Department of Labor decided that they're going to raise the threshold for classifying employees that are considered exempt, meaning that they're not qualified for overtime, versus those who are qualified for overtime. They're non-exempt, and they were going to raise the threshold. They were going to go make this into this whole big initiative, and down to the very last minute, right before the law was going to be passed, was going to be set in motion, they put a stop to it, right? And those are things that we as HR partners with our clients make sure that they understand what's coming down the pipeline, to make sure that they are prepared if they need to review their job descriptions, and making sure that their compensation is going to be in line with what would help ensure that the employees are classified correctly, because the fines that could be associated with misclassifying an employee can be astronomical, right? Because you may also, employers may not be aware of this, but they may also need to provide back pay, or if they um, have misclassified someone that should be overtime eligible, they may even have to go back and calculate owed overtime for X number of years, right? So those are things that we talk to our clients about to make sure that they are prepared for the things that are coming down that will affect them. And if they need further support, then we talk about strategically how to help them get in shape, right, with their HR compliance. And in terms of court rulings, we receive a lot of updates from our partners about things that are happening, case studies, and things that we need to be aware of, so that if we find something in the media that we know could affect some of our particular clients that work in certain states or have certain local laws that may not be able to trickle down to them from other sources, then we proactively reach out to those clients we know that will be affected, particularly in those areas of the country or even certain industries, to make sure that they're on top of it, so that we'll be able to work with them to get them ready to address these new laws that could happen. So to speak more about what we do, we also support with immigration compliance. So I know it's a scary world out there right now with so many things happening with immigration, with ICE detaining people for whatever reason. We're here to help navigate those situations and help our clients figure out best ways to address things that could be affecting their workplace. I had a client who reached out yesterday to tell me that an employee with an H-1B visa um, was detained in her home country because there was an issue getting her visa signed off. So as a result of that, the employee could not return back to the United States and missed a few weeks of work. So the client wanted to know what his responsibilities are and how he could help the employee. And we would have that conversation about what leave laws would be applicable for the employee. He asked if he can apply sick leave in Massachusetts to cover the time that she was out. And of course, as the HR partner, I basically helped him weigh out the pros and cons, explaining the risk that he would take if he were to allow her to use sick time, because technically speaking, Massachusetts sick leave is for qualified reasons, right? So you can't really just say you'll allow the employee to use it, right? So those are things that we talk through. We also talk about wage and hour law compliance, so overtime, mandatory sick leaves that some states would have in place as a bona fide sick leave law, help navigate complicated leave laws. So there are several leave laws that could go hand in hand or run concurrently, and those get really confusing, especially for those that have multiple layers of different type of leaves, whether it's federal, state, and sometimes also fall concurrently um, with the local laws as well. So California is an example of that, right? California has different cities and different jurisdictions that may have their own little leaves that may fall concurrently with other leaves on the state and federal level. So those are areas that we navigate with our clients to help make sure they understand how to manage these leaves. We also provide communications to keep our clients informed of law updates, assist in handbook creation and updates. We also review job descriptions. Many states right now, Massachusetts and New Jersey in particular, are rolling out the pay transparency law, as Melissa mentioned earlier. So right now we're in the thick of helping our clients get their job descriptions up to date, and to also set into motion other parts of the pay transparency preparation. So salary benchmarking, to make sure that employers are comfortable with where they fall when it comes to paying their employees compared to competitors across the country or even locally in their state. So those are things that we are working with our clients right now as one of our big initiatives. We also access to up-to-date employment law posters. So those are very important, especially we have clients that have employees that work on site, because by law, these employment law posters do need to be made visible and accessible to all employees at their work sites. So we have the partnership to help ensure that our employers have access to these updated law posters. And we also assess the risk in employee relations situations. So going back to the example I went through with my client with the H-1B visa situation for their employee, I had to weigh out the risk of helping him out, figure out whether or not it's wise to use sick time during the employee's absence because she wasn't able to return to work in the United States due to her visa situation. So we talked about the risk of doing that. If they ever get audited, would they be fined? Possibly, they might be fined by the state because they were basically abusing the use of sick time. But those are things that we talk about. Okay. In terms of our commitment, we want to provide continuous education to ensure our clients are all up to date on all regulations that are affecting their businesses. And we're always ready to provide clients with the best advice to protect the company, even in the complex or unique situations. And just a disclaimer, we're obviously not employment lawyers, right? So anything that we are sharing or advising our clients are based on what we understand about the laws and how we are interpreting it. So in some situations, we may also advise our clients to seek legal counsel for something that's a little bit more beyond our pay grade. So we also have law partners that we can refer to our clients to work with so that they can get the best legal advice possible before they make their final business decision on how to manage certain situations.
Awesome. So, as Sharon said, the compliance is a huge piece to this, and I started off with, talking about the strategic partner as our first pillar, and really what I love most about what I get to do every day, and really what I believe differentiates MPHR is our third pillar, which is training and development. And I just want to step back for a little bit because everybody can read slides and what that means. And again, I want to stress the fact that this is not delivered in a very call center-ish generic way. My sole reason and passion for getting into the HR and organizational development space was this pillar. So the differentiator is, as somebody who has had to implement many payroll and HRIS systems, has had many consultants in my life as a former CHRO. And I had the luxury of a very large legal budget and was able to put lots of trainings in place in-house, right? That is not always the case for our clients. So it's really important for us to set our clients up for success at whatever level they are at. So not only are we here to advise, recommend, do strategies, risk mitigation, talk through situations, we want to coach you and set you and your management team and your employees up for success. So, I mean, truth be told, when I saw the job posting for this position as an HR consultant, I drilled the heck out of the management team that runs HR services because this is such an important piece. And I was so pleased when I was looking at the website and had interviews with the leadership team here at MP that this was already embedded as a pillar. And what this is creates ongoing value for your company, right? We can train you and coach you over time. We are your strategic partner, a credible source, somebody that can come in and help find gaps in your training and then deliver them. And it is all done virtual. It can be done live, very customizable. And so this third pillar that we have focuses on that training and development. So we're looking at this lens when we talk to you. We can train leaders, employees, manager, providing a holistic, comprehensive approach to HR. What value would we be giving if we just handed you over something about giving and receiving feedback, or said, here is your write-up template, good luck, right? We want to be able to sustain your organization, set that culture up for success, and reduce your risk. Sometimes, as Sharon mentioned, you don't always notice that when you're the business owner or a leader or a non-HR leader or an HR leader. We're just kind of running in day-to-day in our life. And sometimes even if you are somebody that has HR embedded and it's a very small team, we can't do it all, right, in-house. So having this part of our pillar is really important. And what does that look like? We are going to provide trainings that are meaningful based on what the gaps are in your business. So I talked about, we start with an HR assessment. We become very obsessed with our client's business. We understand it inside and out. We are your strategic partner. We want to understand your vision, your staffing models, your culture, your strategic goals, right? And then, as Sharon mentioned, we talk a lot of compliance that often we are very proactive about. So as we look at this third pillar, I mentioned that because it goes with our aim to support that continuous development. We want to coach, educate, and enhance your skills in these areas. So we're not just telling you the compliance. We actually want to get on and talk about how we can educate and train your managers on this. And leave is a great example. Especially if you're a multi-state employer, but even if you're not, right? Leave can get very difficult and it's very regulated, and there's certain things that we have to understand about it. And I'm guilty, right? You're working, you're going throughout the day, you start Googling things, you're trying to interpret what all of that means, but I don't really understand leave. So great, let's hop on the phone with our HR partner and let's train your managers on leave, right? Let's train your leadership team so they understand what it is and what it isn't. But also it is a risk mitigation tool. So I have, clients that were trying to navigate this on their own, and really we found them out of compliance with leave laws, but also not administering it correctly. So what does that mean? People aren't getting paid correctly. They're not aware of those types of entitlements. So we were able to put together a training for the manager team to say, listen, you're the frontline risk, right? If somebody's coming to you saying these things, this is what you need to know to be able to mitigate risk. So a lot of customized training like that. I gave I'll step back and say I have a client that is in a industry, right, that often sees a lot of turnover, and really wanted to step back and understand why that was happening. So again, wanted to say, what can we do to develop them? And the most important thing we could do is take a step back and look at our trends, right? There was a lot of people that were not following policy, or they were taking liberties. Their management styles weren't what the company wanted. All these things, right? And oftentimes we go right to that. Like, managers will be the one that is delivering and sets the tone for that culture and executes your policy. So why aren't we training them? And so we stepped back and said, okay, we have all our compliance piece, right? They have a handbook, but I don't think the managers really understand what all of this means. So let's do a manager 101 training, an HR risks 101 training. So people are looking for things on the front line to mitigate that risk. They understand why things like leave and ADA accommodations are important, because we're developing ways to coach and train them as well. And very customizable to not, hey, this is the law, you interpret it. Really being able to show managers why they want to be aware of this, and then help create process, procedures, and policy adjustments, so that this is now something that they're empowered to deliver on their own. Another one is, I have a client that relies on us for training and development, live and in person, and we've done a whole management training plan. So they came in as an HR director, right, and said, who has time, if you're an HR department of 1 or 2, to really spend time training your management team in really important concepts like giving and receiving feedback. If we want to create a culture and mitigate risk and have managers who can really deliver your strategic goals, it is so important to train them on how to talk to people, how to give the right feedback, how to improve engagement on their teams and in their divisions, right? Management can be argued that we all know this, it's ingrained, we know what we're supposed to do. But our job is to empower people, develop them, move along the company's strategic plan. And so the more tools that we can give that management and development, management and leadership team, is going to make them more confident, right? And again, our aim is to enhance their skills, make them capable, empower them, so that they feel confident in their decisions. And again, we're here to always advise, but giving these trainings live, in person, on Zoom, to the team from an outside perspective is very, very impactful, right? So if I do have any HR leaders or other leaders on the phone, like, how many times have we probably said things, and sometimes it just needs to come from a different source. So we've been able to come in and really tailor these trainings, what's going on based on trends and employee relation issues, really take an in-depth examination of what's happening, what are the progressive discipline outcomes, how many people are coming with employee relations complaints, right? Is every manager being fair and consistent with their outcomes? We also can help you develop, as I said, I've helped a client develop an entire leadership plan, because as we were talking, right, we got through the compliance, we were trying to do some things, we looked at metrics and trends of each manager and their retention, and what it was where the skill gaps were, right? We went through every manager, lead manager on the team, and we're able to develop areas that we can help coach and empower them. So I built, in a partnership along with my client, a year-long leadership development series that started right at 101, right? Here's HR risks, here's HR law and compliance that you should know as a manager. Then we move into, what does management mean and how do you empower people? Then we would move into giving and receiving feedback. The next is writing, uh, I'm sorry, like writing the disciplinary parts of that. So there's a training where we're strategic that has tactical, actionable outcomes that the managers can actually learn, how to write these things better, right? And how to make sure that we're mitigating risk and having better outcomes. We deal with topics that are very important to train, that are more soft skills. So emotional intelligence, a very effective training, because sometimes managers, right, we need to understand what that means. We need to have high emotional IQ so that we not only, again, are mitigating risk, but most importantly, being a place where you're empowering and developing your teams and making sure that we're very, very self-aware as leaders and managers. And sometimes that's pretty tough to do in-house, right? When you're hearing that stuff from your leadership team, your C-suite, your HR team, whatever that looks like. And people really need to take a look at themselves in order to be an effective manager. So that emotional intelligence training, super, super important. And I can go on and on and on, but really, again, the piece that I feel kind of ties this all together is that we're offering these 3 pillars as a way to be able to look holistically. And I can also tell you, as somebody who, yes, was embedded and built training and development over time within her organization, it's very, very, very expensive and time consuming. So the fact that this is part of your HR services and included is is probably one of the most cost-saving tools that you can have, right? Our services encompass this as part of what you're already getting. And the value of having us come on and doing an hour, hour and a half led training or 30-minute micro trainings, or however you want to set that up within your organization. That alone, I can just tell you, is thousands and thousands of dollars if you're paying for that on a customized one by one kind of solution. So um, I'm just speaking again as a former HR leader, that having this as part of our everyday cadence and part of our pillars of our services, the value for what people are paying for MPHR services is beyond the return on investment. And we do a great job of helping to show where that return of investment is too. We want you to look at trends and metrics and track that so that we're being accountable as well and helping you get what you need out of your business. So I probably went on too much, Sharon, but I'm very passionate. Katie said that in the beginning. I'm very passionate about training and development because often this is where it needs to start, right? With your team. We just got to give people confidence and the knowledge they need to be able to effectively carry out your goals.
No, you certainly are very passionate about this topic, and we are very happy to have you as part of our team to basically be the spokesperson about our training and development portion of our services. So, speaking of services, let's talk about what's included. So, Melissa and I, over the last couple of minutes, have already basically covered in our spiel what we offer as your HR partner. But here are a couple more things that we may not have mentioned already. So we do offer the virtual and telephonic HR support with either one of us or our teammates. And even though you will be designated to work with either one of us or one of our teammates, we work as a team. So if for any reason there's a situation that comes up where it gets a little complex or we're not familiar with certain state laws, for example, we would, tell our clients, we need a few more days, a few hours to look into this, and we usually will go back to our team. We meet every week to discuss, some client questions that we may need some help and guidance in. So you're not only just getting one of us as a designated HR partner, but you're also getting like a whole team of us, which there's about, how many of us now, Melissa? Like 8 of us, I think.
Yes, I think.
So, we're very involved. We put our heads together, always having more, one or two heads is better than, not having any support, right? So we do that. We also do the audit of HR practices. And as Melissa mentioned, we do HR assessments for our clients. And usually that's one of the first things that we like to do with our clients that are newly assigned to us. So this gives us an opportunity to learn more about what their business is about, how their management styles are. And then also we would dive into, what they're doing, what they're not doing. And at the end of the assessment, we would provide a action plan, which you usually forecast, about 6 months out with our recommended action plan to help our clients build their HR infrastructure. And we usually go with whatever our clients' needs are. So it's not set in stone, this this action plan.
Right.
It's purely our recommendation, right, Melissa? I'm sure that you've had situations where you come up with an HR action plan, but sometimes employers come to you with different situations that come up, like an
Oh, yes,
unexpected,
every day.
yeah, like an unexpected harassment situation that, pops up. What do? You have to put everything on hold and address that first and foremost. Or if a client has like, a sudden decision to do a reduction in workforce, then we also obviously, that comes into play as a priority. So we would, pause at whatever project we're working on to address those issues first. And then we also do the employee handbook. We review some of our clients that have existing handbooks. We will take a look at it and recommend some of the updates that maybe they're lacking in certain language. Or for our clients that don't have a handbook at all, which you'd be surprised to know how many employers out there don't have a handbook. We have a great handbook builder that gets updated virtually almost every minute of the day. Like as soon as an employment law gets released or amended, our HR builder team will update those policies for us as soon as possible so that we can provide our clients the most relevant, up-to-date policies that apply to them. And then we also do custom employee engagement surveys. And these
Mm,
are this is one thing that I really do enjoy working with my clients because oftentimes, as Melissa mentioned, if you she comes across a situation where an employer has a high turnover and they don't know why, then we might want to think about creating a employee survey, and the survey will be run by us as your MPHR partner, so that we are a third party and that it will remain anonymous, so that the responses come in will purely basically be their the employees' candid thoughts and opinions, and that we'll be able to gather all that information and go back to our clients and share what the results are, and then at that point we come up with strategic ways to address those issues that may have led to why employees are leaving the company, for example. What can we do to help enhance
mhm.
their work experience?
And I
Um,
just gotta say, I don't want to interrupt you, Sharon, but
that's
like,
okay.
what a powerful tool, right? A lot of times, and by the way, I would also say that, and I just always like to base it on my past before I was a consultant, and other providers like MP that I would work with, right? Nobody, first of all, handed me an action plan. That one I will say. So we really have that as part of our cadence. And how do we get there, right? We're able to yes, learn about your business, but what a great employee engagement surveys are a wonderful tool. They can not just be to the employee. You can do 360s with the manager, self, and all sorts of things, in person, online, how that looks. And I will just share just real brief story, right? Like when I took over as the CHRO, I heard a lot of things, right? That manager's perspective, employee's perspective, but I wanted to be really able to back that stuff up. And you'll always hear me. My clients will tell you data is important. So if you want to influence, you want to understand where things are, this engagement survey tool and part of our services is huge, right? We're objective. We don't work for you. We work with you, right? So people are more apt to share things, and what a beautiful picture we can give you as an owner or a leader to say, here's some things that are coming directly from the employees, and let's strategically look at that. So again, I will also bring in the value. Those things are often outsourced to other agencies. Their one-time costs or annual costs. I've paid, when I was embedded, anywhere from $5,000 for a company to do this to $20,000 for a company to do this for one survey and provide the analytics. So again, the part that this is just every day what we do and offer, because it's the right thing to do to be able to give you the right insight into your business. So I interject that because as you can tell, right, I sometimes I'm shocked that we do all this, to be honest. I'm sorry, I'll let that out of the bag, but huge tool that people can use to really drive their strategy and create their core values and things that are important to them so that their people are retained. And so I just wanted to add that again. That's a service often in itself that is outsourced, and sometimes at a very costly price.
I absolutely agree because not only with just the employee engagement surveys, but even just creating handbooks. I mean, I'm floored sometimes when I hear some of my clients tell me that they had their handbook made by a third party and how much they were charged just for a handbook. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my God, that's basically more than what we charge our clients
Hmm.
for our overall HR services package. So I totally agree. I mean, it is amazing the number of different things that we can offer to our clients for what we do.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, and then continuing on with what else we also do, we also help our clients review their HR forms and templates. So if they're looking to create a form letter to an employee explaining about a certain benefit or a certain accommodation that's required, but they don't really know how to word it in the
Mm-hmm.
most compliant way, then we will help them find templates and create them for them so that they will be able to present it to the employees and feel comfortable with the details that are included. And we also work on compensation and work policies, proper employee classification, as I mentioned earlier in my compliance pillar section. That's a very important piece where many of our employers are not very aware of how this could affect them, especially when it comes to sometimes getting a surprise audit. And then that's when they find out the hard way and in a very expensive way that they've been misclassifying some of their employees. Developing non-discriminatory job descriptions. I mentioned that earlier because right now a lot of us are working with employers in Massachusetts and New Jersey that has pay transparency laws coming out. This is one of our large initiatives that we're pushing out right now
Mhm.
to make sure our clients get this done. Proactive review of compliance laws and guidance on administration of new laws and policies that might be coming out and affecting our clients.
Awesome. So probably the number one question I get in response, because I'm always constantly talking about these things to friends and family and business owners, because I believe in really what an HR function can do. So who does MP partner with, right? Who are our clients? Who are the best fits for us? Really anybody that is a business that has little or no HR background. I have clients that are growing and building a business, getting funding, launching new businesses from startups, where they are engaging with us because they want to, from the beginning, set their infrastructure up, both operationally and their people operation. And, they have no background on how to do this. So they don't know what they don't know. And many times I work with a lot of business owners, and I'll say I come from a family with a strong, strong entrepreneurial spirit. Many businesses that we have owned that we're the worst offenders, I will tell you, right? We don't know what we don't know. So we operate because that's what we're good at. We know landscaping, we know insurance, we know all these things, but we don't know a lot of other things that sometimes could put our businesses at risk. Businesses that have outdated or non-existing HR structure, right? This is one that I just want to say we are an ever-changing industry, right? A lot of times we might be looked at, right? If oh, it's a cost center, I can't afford this, or I just don't have time to keep up on this kind of stuff, right? And there's really no time to think about HR, whether it's strategically, compliance wise, training wise. Where do we start? Oh, classic one. I have clients that come on all the time. They're like, oh, I have all those things. Like, I have my discipline forms. I have a handbook. I did the I-9. And we have somebody that does payroll, the office management, does all the HR functions, is also our finance person. And, these things are either non-existent or very outdated because they were put in place maybe by a previous provider or a partner or consultant, or, people were building this as they come. I always like to refer to those, right, as like it's very easy to Google things and find templates, right? But without the thought and that current infrastructure, focusing on really what is important, not only to your business, but in the industry, is super important. And I understand people don't have time to think about that, right? Businesses that are growing, like expanding into other states, increasing employee size, mergers, acquisitions. Many of my clients on my caseload are going through this right now. Again, love this stuff. I love, giving you templates and talking handbooks, but really being able to get in there and expanding and growing your business. And how can we help you set that up for success, right? Whether that's new state laws to consider. Now you have a remote culture. What does that look like from an accountability and an operational standpoint? Do the needs change for the workforce? All of those things. So we really have a niche in that. I think a lot of our clients that come to us are in this phase. They don't know where to start, but they're high growth. And we love them. We love if you're high growth, come to us, because we're very flexible, we're agile. We don't have a script to follow, right? This allows us to use our expertise and our HR knowledge and creativity and strategically work with you to make sure that you're successful and not at risk. And if you are a business that has an HR team, even if it's just one person, right, and they're very experienced, we are not here to replace that. It's actually some of the best clients I love working with have complete embedded HR teams, from an HR director to a generalist. Maybe it's a team of one. Maybe I have clients that have a 10-person HR team. And why do they need us, right? They're doing fine. Again, I can tell you, having somebody to add strength to where my existing team may struggle, or to help me have perspective in a different way. Or all these projects, right? Sharon talked about them. Compensation projects are very time consuming. Building an engagement structure is very time consuming. And then, oh, by the way, you got to get out there and execute it, right? And so things that we want to do as HR professionals, even though they're embedded in the business, a lot of our clients are just in this hamster wheel of having to put out fires, right? Employee relation issues, stay in compliance, but really think of us as your HR sidekick. I have done these trainings and developments. I have helped reduce, stress and worry, and give somebody a lot of confidence in the HR world because they have somebody else to talk to that speaks their language. I have a client who I'm developing their very green HR person right now. We have a personal development plan for that person, some suggested areas of things they could learn with certification. I have a training plan with that person. So we are not here to replace your HR team. We love clients that have embedded HR teams because we want to be an extension of your team. Throw us those job descriptions that need to be rewritten. Give us that benchmarking project because they are very time consuming. And sometimes we don't always have that infrastructure or the capability, especially if we're dealing with other things on a daily basis. So I like to stress that many of my clients are HR professionals and work really, really well, together to make sure that we're creating, all the things in that holistic approach to HR. So don't be afraid to join us if you are an HR professional or you have a team. We're here to help you meet your goals as well in the department.
That's absolutely correct. So, as an HR sidekick, we're not only working locally, but many of us are. Our team also have presence, across the globe. So, I
Hmm.
personally have clients that are based in Barcelona and in Belgium, and they have their headquarters in those countries, but they don't have any presence in the
Mm-hmm.
US, and they don't know anything about US laws and how to hire employees and what they need to do to onboard employees. So we, as their HR partner, will help them navigate those situations so that for those who are not familiar with what certain state laws are in Massachusetts or even different parts of the United States, we are there to help make sure that they have all that they need to help them successfully onboard employees, find the right employees, and also set up the state local laws and taxes. And they have their own HR account manager, the payroll partner on the MP side that will help them set those up. But
Hmm.
we as HR partners will make sure that we're dotting all the i's and crossing the t's to make sure that the employers across the globe understand what they need to have in order to be in compliance on that piece as well. So we're not, as Melissa said, we're not here to replace anyone within our client's organization. We're here to enhance them. We make them look like superstars because
Right.
Melissa just shared a wonderful experience with us today in our team meeting about how a client of hers was able to win an unemployment case in Massachusetts. And for those of you who are not familiar with Massachusetts unemployment, it's a very, very employee friendly state. So most of these unemployment claims that our state gets, usually the employees will benefit from it unless if the employer has really great documentation to support why an employee does not qualify for unemployment benefits. And because of Melissa's due diligence and able to help the employer stay on track with documenting all the employees' work history and any other type of performance behavioral situation, the employer was able to win that case, so the employee was not able to receive benefits. And now the client herself is shining because she's able to help show the owner of the company how much she's actually saving the company in terms of all the cost of hiring someone new and the recruitment cost and having to pay unemployment taxes. So kudos to Melissa for being able to help our client shine the way she did. And it's just something that, makes us happy because we know that by doing that, we've done our job helping our clients.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's a great segue into, we'll spend the last few minutes here on some case studies. And I appreciate that. Kudos, Sharon. Thank you. But I would say that about every one of our HR partners. We're pretty lucky. And really, what is important about that case that she just shared was that, right, a very, very highly experienced HR person, right? You might say, why do we need these services, right? She knows how to do all the things. Um, but sometimes we need to have that other expertise and opinion to talk through situations like that, and kind of change our thinking or help us look a different way, or what are we looking short-sighted at. And that's an HR practice. Even hopefully we would encourage that among teams. So let's just go through a couple case studies. I know I think Sharon, do you want to talk about this one, or do you want me
Yes.
to just roll in?
Yep,
Okay, go ahead and
I
I'll
will be
do the
happy
next one.
to. So this is one of our case studies where we have a manufacturer with 250 employees. They have an existing HR team, but they have been penalized in the past because of immigration violations. So whether it's because of the full Form I-9s were not completed, or that the forms were not were misplaced, or that the IDs that were attached to the form did not match, there are various number of reasons. So they did a full-scale I-9 audit and passed the Department of Homeland Security's inspection, which was great news.
Mm,
They did a reclassification of previously exempt workers. So they, had situations where they had employees that were supposed to be qualified for overtime, but many employers sometimes get confused because when people hear a position that has a managerial title or directorial title, even, they would automatically assume
mm,
that someone is, not qualified for overtime because of that job title. But job titles are just job titles, right? Anyone can be named a manager, but it really all depends on the type of responsibilities that the employees are actually performing. So if those responsibilities do not meet any of the criteria that falls under one of the seven exempt categories, then it's likely that the position would be considered overtime eligible. So in this situation, it looks like the manufacturer made a similar, basically a similar mistake of misclassifying their managers or supervisors as exempt when their job responsibilities did not meet those qualifications for exemption. So they had to be reclassified to overtime qualified employees. And they also did a benefits survey and discovered that employees wanted a high deductible option, transportation benefits, and was able to eliminate expensive offerings that were unpopular. So it seemed like there had been some concerns about employee retention, and that one of the reasons why employees were leaving was because they felt that the benefits packages were not as comprehensive as they wanted it to be. So with the advice of the HR partner, they did a benefits survey and explored, figuring out why employees are leaving, what makes them happy, what makes them unhappy, what they feel they could benefit in terms of added benefits. And I did something similar to one of my other clients too, who also was experiencing high turnover. And during the exit interview, they said that the employees mentioned that, well, they were getting, similar pay from their new job, but the benefits were, much more comprehensive and richer. So that's when I suggested, okay, let's do a comp survey, a benefit survey. And we went through the survey with the employees. They answered the questions, and that's when we found out that employees wanted more time off, wanted a more flexible holidays. So there are some holidays that the company did observe, but not for many of the religious holidays that some of the employees were culturally part of. So with this particular case study, going back to this manufacturer, they were able to identify things to further enhance the employee's work experience, not just on a compensation scale, but also from a benefits situation.
awesome. And I know we're running a little short on time, but I think this is a great one just to kind of mention briefly. Very typical. We see this was a landscaping company, 25 employees. Everybody was classified as an independent contractor, meaning nobody was on payroll. And we really had to step back and examine the situation, because that is definitely a lot of risk under not only the Department of Labor, but IRS tax things. So, we really had to think what is somebody that should be a W-2, and we go through, a process based on the rules of the IRS, and really decide what this person should be classified. So, we first do that audit, look how people are paid, look at why they're contractors, are they meeting the contractors, test that is put out by the DOL and the IRS, which include things, right, like control, autonomy. The person must really work for themselves and other people, not just you if they're going to be a contractor. And so the liability, yes, may come off the company, but there's other liability if they're misclassified wrong. Things like, being able to have things audited and say, if these are your positions, they should be W-2, having the taxes come out. This is not the right situation for this agreement, right? And it's very situational based. So in this particular case, we found that, there was nothing that existed. Everybody was a contractor. We did the 7-point test. We talked with the owner, realized that there was risk there. We were able to create job descriptions, develop a reclassification strategy there, communication plan. So it wasn't just, hey, we changed these wages in your compliance or these classifications. We actually took it a step further, made sure that there was really airtight communication. We had an employee workshop so that people could ask questions and understand what this means for them. And then we do partner and really want people to understand what's available to them. So being able to help with the IRS amnesty program and make sure that, they're protected about classifications. This is an area that is pretty hot between the IRS and the Department of Labor. And people often say, oh, what is that risk, right? Well, any personal tax or employer tax misclassification or things that are going to be flagged there through the IRS would often open audits and things. So it's really, really important that employers are understanding what the classification means. Not everybody can be an independent contractor, what it means to be an independent contractor, what things should be in place. And it doesn't mean that you can't always have them, but really being able to take the steps to just, instead of, making that call and saying, do this, spending the time as that strategic partner, being able to really examine, talk about the roles, talk about what they're doing, and help with the tools of agreements and the right communication plan, and helping employees understand that on both sides is what we took to the approach for this. Again, landscaping company, 25 employees, could have been very easy for us to just fix the problem, but wanted to make sure that the owner and the employees understood when they were coming over as W-2s, and when the contractors understood, what was needed, and if that was under compliance with the law. So again, it's a strategy. It's an important one, mitigates a lot of risk, and we were able to help that company be able to make that transition in a very smooth way, and they have a lot of happy employees.
Thanks, Melissa. So now we have another case study. It's a brewery with 40 employees. And just as most of our clients, the owners only understood their business. And in this case, they know beer, but don't know HR. They developed onboarding resources for their new hires. We helped them design a valid and compliant tip pool program to meet federal and state tip laws. So certain states may have certain tip pooling requirements, such as Massachusetts, that employers sometimes are not familiar with. They just kind of go in blindly and decide, all right, we're just going to split the tips in any way that we feel is fair. But in Massachusetts in particular, there are certain guidelines as to how tip pooling needs to be done in the proper way in order to be fair and consistent. And there was growth created that basically called for new managers that needed to be promoted. So within that space, MP was able to offer them some management training series that Melissa passionately talked about in helping develop these managers, helping them increase their skills in their soft skills, communicating with employees, managing in the employees. And oftentimes when it comes to managing employees that used to be your peers, that's one of the hardest obstacles that most employers face, right? Because you used to be able to talk about anything, but then now that you have someone who is now your manager, your boss, like, do you stop being friends with them, right, at work? Or do you even, can you even still be friends outside of work? So those are the dynamics that we talk about in one of our trainings when it comes to managing employees that used to be your peers, okay? And then there was also set up with the WOTC service to gain tax credits for eligible new hires. And this assisted with the PPP and the ERTC program that basically was very popular during COVID times. So these are things that we worked with this particular a client that was in a retail and beverage industry. No idea what they need to know for HR, and especially with the tip pooling situation, they really needed to make sure that they understood what their responsibilities are as an employer to compensate these employees that are eligible for tip compensation the right way.
Awesome. The next one is a restaurant group, had 60 employees. They needed to have an HR manager, right? And that is something that we do get asked a lot. When is it time to pull somebody embedded? They were able to find a junior level HR person that was in their budget, helped have savings, but super green, right? Needed some training, needing some development. And the HR partner was really able to develop a employee development plan and training curriculum to not only build the skills of the new junior level HR person, but also, as I mentioned before, help train the workforce. The diligence of that uh, HR person and the partner working together, holding each other accountable, having that training curriculum to help build confidence and skills, resulted in that HR person being promoted within 12 months. And how do we get there? Things like we just said, showing value at the company, assisting with very complex things like Affordable Care Act compliance, helping them pay attention to the things that they don't know, right? Bringing in things like harassment training, investigation training and support. All those things are very delicate items that should be executed in a way that is protecting the company from risk. So being able to take a junior level HR person and have them develop to the point where they're doing these very complex investigations that are getting them to think about risk mitigation and empowering and retaining people. Being promoted in 12 months is the perfect example of that. So with our help, they were able to come in and really show value to the company, and resulted in that person not only getting promoted but being extremely more knowledgeable, and have a plan and a structure to be able to bring HR infrastructure stronger to the company. So again, we do work with a lot of HR professionals, and it's a space that we enjoy, is to help develop that staff as well.
Thank you. So for the interest of time, I know we're at the 2 o'clock, top of the 2 o'clock hour. I didn't want to hold up anyone's busy schedule. So we're just going to skip over the last case study and jump right into any questions you might have. If you can't come up with any questions right now, that's okay. You can feel free to send our marketing team a message and reach out with any questions about the service. But we want to take this opportunity to wrap up this seminar and thank you for taking the time
Yeah.
to learn more about our HR services department. We look forward to hopefully working with one of you, with most of you on this call. And, please spread the word. If this is something that you're interested in, please don't hesitate to reach out to one of our sales department or marketing team to learn more about what we do, if there's still additional questions. And Melissa, would you like to add anything before we close for today?
I would just encourage everybody, if we stirred any thinking up, right? Like, oh, I've had this problem in the past, or oh, I didn't even know these things, right? It doesn't cost anything to reach out. Let us help you at least be able to understand if this would be a great fit for you. And again, there's a customer success manager and a sales team that we work very closely with to help understand that, and if we would be the right fit. So I just want to add that is sometimes, just don't be afraid to say what you don't know or ask questions, and dialogue with one of the sales partners, because they are phenomenal about understanding what it is that we do as well. And we partner with them all the time. So ask the question, to make sure you can understand if this is the right fit for you. Most of the time, we're happy to jump on that call with the salesperson as well, and talk through the situation for a few minutes if that helps provide clarity and helps you get a bigger insight into what it is that we can do to help you. And yes,
Amazing.
thank you, everybody. I hope that all of you on the call will come on to services and work with one of our partners. It's exciting when we get to have new folks join us. So we're happy to help you.
Thank you both to Melissa and Sharon, and thank you all for joining today. We hope that you're walking away with a clearer picture of how MP's HR services can help make your life easier, your team stronger, and your compliance headaches a thing of the past. If today sparked any ideas or questions, please don't let them sit. Reach out. We'd love to talk and what it could look like for your team. Also, keep an eye on your inbox. The slides and the recording of today's webinar will be sent to you this afternoon, so you can revisit and share anything with your team that you'd like. Before you go, if you could take a minute to fill out our quick survey, it's short, sweet, helps us shape future sessions around what we really want to know. Thanks again for spending your time with us. And remember, with MP, you don't lose control, you just gain some backup. Thank you, everyone.